Anybody see this? Do you also say that the picture speaks more than 1,000 words?
Yep.
Okay, what does this picture say?
1,000 words.
Where are you trying to tell me to go? What direction am I going to go?
Let's see this.
You're like in the middle of nowhere.
He doesn't know his
Don't where
goal.
to go.
Confusion.
He doesn't know his goal.
Lack of direction, lost,
He has
right?
no objective in his life.
No vision, right? And they are looking at mom and dad who are not there, right? And they are blaming them for not having direction, right? This is exactly the case with most of the youth who are raised in the West. These guys are the least fortunate in all of the Muslim communities in one way, and they are the most fortunate of the Muslim communities in the world in another way. They are least fortunate if parents do not pay enough attention to their needs at young age. I keep repeating this, at young age. You engrave something in the stone, and that sticks there. التعليم في الصغر كالنقش على الحجر. So when they grow older and they do have the direction, they know where they are heading. They are happy, they are content. They are happy to be Muslims, they are happy to be with your family, they are happy to tell you, you know what, I'm proud of you as my dad. I love you and I appreciate what you have done for me. And when they face situations where they can't make a decision, they have a reference. They go back to you and say, Mom, Dad, what can I do? But when they lose this throughout their upbringing and they come to the teenage and they don't have you, they go to their friends. And this is not the source that you want them to get guidance from. Okay? What is the lack of vision and the lack of direction? The lack of direction is synonymous to what could be called youth syndrome. Youth by nature will lack direction. They think they know more than what they actually do. We'll talk about this a lot in the next session. But for now, I want you to focus on something. That is this what you want to see your children saying? Or is this where you want them to be? Lacking direction, lacking focus. I'm sure that this is not what it is. But the society in which we live is really leading to this. You're telling them one thing. The imam is saying another thing. Another imam is saying another thing. And another parent saying to his child another thing. And the school is saying another thing. And the teacher and the TV and the coach, everybody is saying something. Where do they go? How do they on their own reconcile all of this and make sense out of it and develop direction? How do they do this on their own? Parents must sit down. Sit down with your children. Almost, if you don't do it every day, do it at least twice a week. If you can't do it twice a week, at least once a week. Get them debriefed. Get them to tell you what happened in a week. Get them to tell you stories. Get them to tell you situations, confrontations, communications, stories that they have read, things that they have been told, assignments that they have been given, because all of this is also part of their upbringing. You can't isolate their upbringing to a meeting on the Quran saying, guy, you listen to the Quran, you read the Quran, you're fine, go ahead. They are not going to be able to manage their life just by memorizing the Quran. It has to be a little bit more than this. Okay? Let's move a little bit to see what the environment does. The purpose, as I said in the beginning, of this presentation is to see the environment through the eyes and the lives of our children and to see how it impacts their life. When the child goes to school, I'm talking now about teenagers in particular, when they go to school, they have much more choices than the ones you present to them at home. Even in Islamic school. Why? Because they hear how other kids are doing and managing their life. Oh, my dad takes me to the cinema. Last week we went to the movie and we did this and that. Even in Islamic school, right? Then the kid wants to go to the movie. They want to see the movie their friend show, you know? So you have to be cognizant that they are not living a copy of your life at home, but it is only in another place. And they go over this 7, 8 hours a day. Okay? And you have to be part of their life. How could you be part of their life? Sit down with them. Talk to them. Listen to them is much even more important than talking to them. Most of the time, when we sit with our kids, we have a message, we have a khutbah, we have a lesson, we have a lecture to give. But most of the time, what they need is somebody to listen to them, because they have issues that you may not address. So the more that you develop the relationship between you and your child, especially at the teenage, the better off you are as a parent. The better off he has a chance to be guided, and the better off that he is off to make friends and make choices and make decisions for his or her life. Let's take the next picture and see what happens here. I don't know where the animation went. This is supposed to be, I'm sorry, because the animation has something that I wanted you to be exposed to. Let me see. Now you have it, okay. The intention here is not the game. The intention here is to really draw your attention to something I believe quite important. What does this tell you?
Religious.
What does the picture speak about anyway?
The brick wall.
The brick wall.
It's a society that
Okay.
keeps you from being what you need to be.
Okay. It's a brick wall between you and your identity, you and your religion, and it calls for conformity to be applauded. The more you conform to the group, the more the applause you get. Right? This is typical of any society, a Muslim society or a non-Muslim society. Every society like to see their members conform to the expectations of the norm. So if the norms are un-Islamic, then you get the applause for being as much un-Islamic as possible. And if the norm is an Islamic norm, then you get the applause for complying with Islam. Right? So the environment plays a great deal of role in shaping not only your expectations, but shaping your life according to the expectations of others. Okay? Why is a society a real brick wall between the individual and their identity, or the individual and their religion? Why? Because the society's expectations are rigid. Okay? If you don't meet their expectations, all of it, you always get blamed. Give you a story of a person I used to know about 35 years ago. At that time, he started to grow his beard. So his aunt told him, listen, honey, you're praying, you're fine, you go to the mosque, but there's no real need to grow your beard. It makes you awful and, old, and you don't need to do this. Plus, people who are growing their beard are not necessarily real angels, They also can lie and steal and do things. So your manners are good. So don't be like them. Don't. The same thing that, you can hear from people saying, don't talk about jihad, because people who are saying jihad and stuff, they are committing terrorism. They are this, and you want to be moderate. So the society is always in the business of desensitizing its members to be attuned to the expectations of the society. And the more the kids are pressured by the society, and the more they crave for acceptance, the more they are under what is called the peer pressure. And the more they get under the peer pressure, and they do not have the tools to push back, the more they conform to those expectations. It is on us parents to sort things out for them. Honey, not everything that you hear out there is good. Not everything that you're invited to is something that you should accept. Not every book that you read is something that is educational. Not every video that you watch is a good idea to implement. Not every movie that you hear about is something that you have to watch and see. So there has to be some process to sort the society out for our children, so that as they sail through it, it doesn't become a dark black ocean of troubles. Instead, it becomes a charted water. They have a map, they have a vision, they know where they are heading. That gives them power over the brick wall. And also what gives them power is the ability to push the society back, saying, do you know what, but I'm a Muslim, I don't drink. But I'm a Muslim, I don't dance with girls, you know. But I'm a Muslim, I will never take off my hijab to join the PE. You know, those are the things that we need to teach our kids, to draw the line between keeping their identity and being actively engaged in the society. And they are not going to learn those on their own. We have to give them the tools. And that means that parents have to be engaged in the school system, whether it is a public school, the government school, or the Islamic school. You have to be involved to shape the environment as much as you can, along with other parents, the way you want it. I don't want my kid to be exposed to this. In America, I don't know what the system here says, there's something called health education, which ends up to be sex education. Okay? And they teach kids all things, including values and judgments over those activities, without the parents knowing what the course is really about. Parents have to have a say. So they send you a note. So most Muslim parents opt out. You know what? I don't want my kids to be there. But very few parents are those who say, show me what the course is about. And go talk with other parents, say, we the parents have the power to tell the system what to offer our kids. If we have to have this kind of education, we have to have a say. Or else to form a group of Muslim parents and teach the kids by one of these parents, or two or three, as to what exactly they need to learn about the subject. And instead of just either opting out and making the kids feel less than everybody else, isolated from everybody else, or letting them go with everybody and hit the brick wall that, oh yeah, I have to try to be able to marry. My oldest kid was in the 6th or 7th grade when I was taking him home from the mosque Friday night, and he said, Dad, I get lots of questions that I can answer about Islam and stuff, but this one in particular, I didn't know how to answer. I said, what? He said, a couple of girls asked me, Suhaib, if you do not date according to your religion, how do you get married? He didn't know the answer. And I'm sure that your kids don't know the answer either, right? And many of them get it from any source other than you. But we have to talk to them. So I told them how I got married and how is it likely for him to get married without having to date. And I told them about the engagement system in Islam. What does it serve? How does it work? And so on and so forth. It gives comfort for a teenager to know how to answer challenging questions. Okay, he could talk about Jesus, he could talk about Muhammad, he could talk about the Quran, he could talk about the Bible, but he didn't know this particular issue. How many issues are there that our kids do not know how to tackle and they are not talking to us about? Okay, again, why is a society big on conformity? Because it creates cohesiveness in the society. If everybody is like everybody else, it is easy to govern. It's easy to manage. It's like us parents, we want all of our children to be one and the same. They are never going to be the same. Also, we have to teach the societies in which we live that diversity is a source of strength. You know, conformity is a source of weakness. That everybody is trying to please everybody by making it look like I am like everybody. This is not, this is artificial. And we have to resent it. And we have to bring our values to strengthen our society. We have to bring our beliefs to correct and strengthen the society where they are wrong. Okay, let's move. Oh, this one also I'm not going to do this for everyone. Let me see if I can go back and apply to all here. I'm sorry for this. This is a technical glitch because of my ignorance here.
You have to get, I think you have to get in a different mode where you can see all the slides at the same time.
It applies to
Okay.
it applies to all. If you say apply to all, let me see if I can play. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if we can do it here. Now it should apply to all, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. What does this picture tell us?
Sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Yeah, everything is halal, right? And marriage has obstacles. Marriage is not easy. Marriage is not easy. What I call here is, in the West in particular, and this unfortunately is spreading even in Muslim lands, the most prevalent attitude in the society is that it is sin-friendly. It is something of the past that you can walk in the street and some elderly person can tell you, this is wrong, honey, you don't do this. Now everybody is minding their own business. Now you can see kids doing everything in the street and nobody cares. Likewise in the school. It doesn't matter what they think or what they believe or what they say. What matters, did you do your homework? You're fine. That's all what I care about as a teacher. So there is no source of values, there is no sense of direction, there is no sense of morality or value judgment. Okay? The only value judgment that the kids get is, oh, you don't really dance, don't you? How do you have weddings, you know, when you celebrate, what do you do? So the kid feels that they are really strange, you know, I don't know. So, oh, you've not dated anybody yet, you're 17, you're going to college? Honey, you better wake up and smell the coffee, you know? How are you going to pick a husband, you know? You're going to get somebody from heaven or what? Is your family going to arrange it for you? Right? And the kids really think about it. How is it going to happen? Okay, you're 17, you never dated anybody, you don't know guys, right? So if you don't drink, if you don't dance, if you don't date, then you're lost. And those things are not strange. Don't think about those issues from your own perspective as an adult who's most probably grown overseas or with your own value system. But think about it from the perspective of the current environment in which your children are living. So don't think of those issues as, you know, kind of like, oh, it's irrelevant, not my kids. Because unfortunately, yes, there were teenagers who were Muslims who were, for example, did very awful things that we discovered in Canada, in America. Very awful things. And I'm sure you have stories here to tell. Okay? Many of them I have seen personally in the criminal justice system, in youth detention centers, in the courts. Doing what? Running with gangs, going for weapons, doing drugs, selling porn stuff. So if those kids are not really aware what is the danger out there, then they can get swamped. They can get sucked in the system. And it's easy. All what it takes is a nice guy that can convince your son, come on, it's only a paintball game, you know, let's go. And then from paintball to AK-47 to a bank robbery, and then what? So it escalates much quicker than what you think. Okay? So we have to be on the lookout from the beginning before things escalate. And recognize the fact that the environment out there is sin friendly. What is sin friendly? It means it encourages sin, it doesn't repel it, it doesn't look down at it. In fact, it does the opposite. If you're too righteous, I'm afraid you become fanatic, right? You become an extremism. You can turn into a terrorist. And the kids, they clinch. They don't want to be labeled in a negative way. So, what is wrong with the system today? It froze. What are you doing? Okay, no. Okay. Let's get to the next one.
Just change to mouse click on the PS5. Advanced.
It can work both ways. It should. It's okay. This is the way it goes anyway. The society also is not short on ideas. You go to any college campus and you will find like 10,000 clubs, from the bald-headed to the long hair to the ponytail club. Everything has a club, right? So the society offers much more opportunities than you care for your son. Come on. Then you care for your son to be exposed to. And with this, they offer them lots of options, lots of activities. So you need to discover from your kid what kind of clubs are there in his or her school. Okay? What activities do they like? What things do they want to join? Why do they want to join it? What they see themselves doing as Muslims in that club. Okay? And get to know how are they making their friends. What ideas are influencing their mind. Because as you teach them that Allah created you, that's why you worship Him, they are teaching him in the school that you came from apes. Right? There is no God, there is no creation. You evolved. So the whole system of worship, because He created you, crumbles on the assumption and the belief that no, I evolved. How could you prove that I did not? So something as simple as that can impact his faith, his belief, and his commitment to religion. So what many of the children do in that case is they do at the school what they believe is scientifically acceptable, and they comply at home to show you the good faith that they have. But then by the time they become stronger, they start to show their actual true belief. That, you know what, I never truly believed I was created. I know I was born, but man didn't come out of creation. We didn't study this in science. Even in genetics, they prove that it is wrong. And science can't be wrong. So take him now that he's 18 or 20 and try to bring him back to be 6 and recreate the belief system in his head. It's very difficult. So you have to monitor. Faith is not something that you saw at one time and you harvest at another. Unless you nurture it, unless you develop it, it fades away in the noise and confusion of the environment. So we have to be careful. Lots of ideas and lots of skillful propagators. What does this say? They go to school at what age? 5, 6? Right? And then by the time they are 10, they got used to so many things that you've not taught them at home. Right? And it's not all about education and math and science. It's about social skills. It's about relating to others. It's about the perception of who the other person is. Right? Boy or girl. Right? And if you do not give them guidance from the beginning, they end up picking it from the society. So how to relate to each other, what is the right perception, what is the right concept of how to interact with the other gender is also very important. This picture is very telling for me. We get scholars to come and visit with us from time to time. And one day, a visiting scholar was sitting with the sisters, talking with them in Ramadan about raising children. And a young girl, I don't know if this is the same here, but it looks like it's the same because I had one last night. I had ice cream also, thanks to Brother Ahmed. And the kid entered the room where the scholar was talking to the mothers, the sisters, and the kid had a huge ice cream cone. She was only about 4 years old. So he looked at the girl and he said, "What is this? We are here to talk about raising children, not lion cubs. What is this? If at that young age this is the cone that a little girl is holding, when she grows as old as, what do you get her?" But eating was not a kind of like side activity for the Prophet. The Prophet paid attention to kids as they ate. Why? Because eating is not about only social etiquette as to how to eat nicely and cleanly, but it's also about consumption. It's about consumerism. It's about economy. It's about greed. It's about satisfaction. It's about lust. It's about a lot of things. And I want to tell you something that I have seen in many children. Children who are greedy when it comes to food are less likely to have control over other desires as they grow older. I want you to pay attention. If you have a child who is very hinged on food and he wants to take lots of it unnecessarily, you have to be careful. It's not only about weight, it's not about hygiene, it's not about etiquette, it's not about organization, it's about greed and submission and caving in to the lust for food. Okay? And if he caves into the lust of food, there is a good likelihood he can cave into other lusts and other desires. So food is very important as an issue with children and an issue of tarbiyah as well. And when your children go to school and they start activities like, coloring and painting and stuff like this, not all coloring books are equally the same. Not all math books are equally the same. I have seen in math books, adding up 10 crosses plus 2 crosses equals how many cross? Okay? Or the heart for Valentine, 3 hearts and 5 hearts equals how many hearts? So even math has been incorporated into, and values have been entered into the math so that the kids can subtly pick values and pick sides. Okay? So not all education, not all coloring is innocent activities, even if it is written in children's books. Not all cartoons that are made for children are innocent because they are made for children. In fact, it is exactly the opposite. It used to be innocent 20-some years ago, but since the mid of the 80s, the cartoon producers have also incorporated certain values, social etiquette, social values, social beliefs, religious beliefs were also entered into the cartoon. So exposing your children to anything is a potential hazard to his faith and to his belief. I'm not calling for isolation by any stretch of the imagination. I'm calling for awareness. I'm calling for parents to be informed as to what the kids are really getting exposed to as they are sent to the preschool or the kindergarten or even the first grade. They are not necessarily engaged in quote-unquote purely innocent activities of learning. Even the computer that once was taken for the most innocent thing. Kids are learning typing, they learn how to visit the internet and collect information. I'm sure today even non-Muslims are fighting to get the internet under control. Why? The exposure to 100,000 times as much. And if they don't go to visit the site comes to visit them. The spam, the pop-ups, all of those things, they come in the face of the child. So computers are very dangerous. In fact, now they are more dangerous than TV, because TV is normally put in the family room, unless you provide one for the kids' room, which I advise strongly against. But computers are typically put in the kids' rooms, where parents have little access or little visits to see what is going on. And when they come, the kids are very sophisticated. They can change the screen in less than a second, right? They can change it by even instructing the computer by voice. Tell them when I say welcome mom, that you change the screen. Yes. So I believe we have to be careful. What are we exposing our kids to every day? Then, the same 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Getting close. Then you see these two pictures. What do they say here? These guys that you see in either the newsroom or the boardroom, or what do they reflect? They reflect images of success. These guys are successful people, a businesswoman, a businessman, and a board member, a chairman of the board, a CEO. All of these words are floating around to create desires in the children to imitate. In the 60s and the 70s, it used to be only movie stars that people are told to look up to. But now other images are popping up with different names. But the lifestyles behind those are not necessarily the ones that you want your kids to grow up in. So you have to also even, unfortunately, be careful when your kids look at these people and say, I want to be a broadcaster. And you may say, yeah, we need people in the media. But you don't know that she wants to dress like her, she wants to talk like her, she wants to have a life like her. So don't take innocent comments from the kids as always innocent. You always have to ask the question, why do you think you want to do that? Anyway, then we're told that, kids will have to make friends, If they don't have non-Muslim friends, they will not be able to do da'wah when they grow up, right? If they go to only the Muslim school, they cannot manage their life in the college. Wrong. They can. And much better so than those who grow up in the public school. Why? Because every creature that Allah created needs a period of custody, a period of incubation. Okay? For sucking milk, it's 2 years, right? For sucking the faith, it's about 10 years. You get the basics of it, right? You get the hang of it, right? Then to learn how to exercise your life according to your faith, it takes the rest of your life. Right? So the period of incubation is divided into 4 periods. Young children at the age of baby until 2 years old, then between 3 and 6 and 7, then from there to teenage, and from there on, from teenage until you die, you still need to be incubated. In what way? As an adult, I don't need incubation, right? I can do anything I want. But no, I do. I do need your company, right? We need the company of each other. And this is a system of incubation, okay? It's not total incubation as you talk about it literally and scientifically, but it is a way of protecting one in the group, right? Children need it more than anybody else. Why? Because they lack the knowledge, and as I mentioned before, they lack the will, and they lack the options, they lack the vision. So they need longer period of incubation, whereby until they develop the knowledge, the information, and the will, then they can fly on their own in the college and beyond. But before that, it's very difficult to say, I have to send them so that they can be successful, they learn the other kids' lifestyles, and they become stronger in faith. They are not going to become stronger. They are going to become weaker. Because every day, instead of their faith growing and being nurtured in the Islamic school, it gets challenged. They get other options of other belief system, other lifestyles. So they get weakened and not nurtured. Of course, sports is one very good attraction for kids. And unfortunately, Muslim parents also, we can't really isolate our kids. You know what? You take them to the soccer game, you take them to the baseball or the football game, and you sit down and let them play, Muslim, non-Muslim. It's a ball. But listen to how they talk to each other. Listen what makes them laugh and how they laugh. How they criticize each other. What do they do when they get angry? It's an acquired behavior from the group. And it's infectious. Whatever the popular boy on the field does, then everybody wants to do to become popular. So it leads also into another system of conformity and trial to imitate everybody else. Okay, do you want to be a professional? You have to look like these guys, right? To dress professional and to act professional and to look professional. And then the society takes you one step further. Don't just be professional, be like us. This is St. Patrick Parade. Oh, there is nothing. The kids will go, they will watch. It's music and it's fun. And they see other kids walking with their parents and stuff. But it's inviting. It's inviting. You know, the people of the children of Israel, what did they tell Moses? They tell him, اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. Make a God for us as they have made one for themselves. Give us something. Then I think this picture speaks much more than 10,000 words. What does it say?
Who do you have to use to?
The peer pressure, actually.
Gradual conform, but gradually.
Yeah. Conformity is about being pulled from several directions. And then the stronger pull ends up winning your heart and mind and maybe your life. And the more the kids get pulled in different directions with equal strength, the more confused they become. And the more they become what they call multiple personalities. They have one personality for home, one for the school, one for the mosque, one for the peer that they go out with and stuff. And then we think and say, oh, we didn't know, when did he start to be like this? Because we accepted the pretension. When they were young and they had no choice, they pretended that they are complying. They are praying, they are fasting, they are this, they are, and we accepted the pretension instead of the reality. Why? Because we took action for faith. We took action as a substitute for faith and understanding. And we are focused on do and don't much more than we are focused on understanding, reasoning, conviction. And this is something, because it takes effort to reach this. It's much less effort to say you have to do this than saying, honey, we need to know, why do we pray? Right? What benefit should we get when we pray? What should we be thinking of when we pray? When we stand before Allah, what should come through our heads and hearts? What should we come out with as we finish prayer so that we can move on to the next activity? Where should we focus in our prayer? So it's much more difficult to explain, sit down and entertain all of this than saying, you know what, you have to pray. They finish, say, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, let go. Mommy, now can I do this? Yes, honey, go. Then honey goes to play 2 more hours because he prayed for 2 minutes, right? And you don't know what the 5 hours are about. So we have to balance what we give our kids. But this also tells us something, that people are attracted to styles and the outlook, the features, then they are attracted to the substance. So don't get hard on your kids when they want to fashion a model or something, unless it is something in their head that is much more than the outlook. And in many cases it is. Because why does somebody want to imitate somebody else unless they believe they are less and he or she is better? and I want to be better. I want to be like him. These are cycles that our youth go through every single day. And the central piece here is that every issue of those is interconnected with the life of the child. You look at social and media pressure. You look at the kids' isolation between two rejecting cultures. They are not good enough Muslims for us to embrace them, and they are not good enough conforming to the society to be embraced by the society. They keep getting rejected by both sides. The infrequent mosque attendance, that you don't bring them except once in a week, even so, if at all. Insufficient youth programs in any Muslim community. Youth are getting the least. Weak Islamic centers. People are bickering much more than organizing. People are fighting much more than working. Lack or weakness of the Arabic language, which is central to first-hand information on Islamic resources. The insufficient Islamic knowledge. How could somebody judge anything based on any value when he doesn't know what the values are? So these are very serious challenges. I believe I will stop here.